ENN tonight is brought to you by Security Dodge. Go see Michelle Scalisi and...
I've got some breaking news.
What would that be?
Oh, wait, Don, go ahead. We've been waiting all day. What is it?
Yeah, and I really shouldn't be going.
Oh, you're going to go there?
I'm going to go.
Here we go.
I'm going to do it. Breaking news that there are 2 Roy Rogers in South Jersey. One in Brick, which is very close to where the Beach Bash is going to be. So, Peter, why don't we, like gentlemen, pick up some Roy Rogers for some lunch? I know they're going to have food there, but we can incorporate a nice little, was it a double R bar burger?
I love it. You know what? It would be a guilty pleasure of mine, Don.
Well,
You know, we typically when that happens, it's usually the Yankees starting lineup when we have that type of breaking news. But did not happen.
But because of the different sponsors that we have, management made a point to not mention that breaking news on today's day. But I just felt it was too important to our audience not to let them know.
Well, no, a lot of big things have happened in the world today, and you need to address them. And I get it. We stick to sports.
That's right.
But every once in a while, you have to, because of the gravity of the story, cover it like a newsman would.
That's right.
And that's what Don just did.
I think it's very
with the Roy Rogers in South Jersey.
I don't disagree. I actually love what Don did just now.
That's important.
And while we're at it, we might as well. The Yankee pitching matchup tonight, brought to you by CertaPro Painters. Carlos Rodon goes for the Yankees 6-2 with a 2.95 ERA, and he is up against Patrick Sandoval for the Angels 2-7 with a 5.60 ERA. That is your Yankee pitching matchup, brought to you by CertaPro Painters. When choosing a painting professional for your home or business, the choice is simple. Choose Happy, choose CertaPro Painters. Something completely not related to the team I just mentioned. Listen up, baseball fans. ESPN New York is giving you the chance to travel with the home team when the boys from the Bronx visit Boston. You and a guest could enjoy the weekend with round-trip train tickets and 2-night hotel accommodations. For official rules and to enter, visit the ESPN New York app and click on Travel with the Home Team. It's all brought to you by Corona, the official cerveza of Major League Baseball. And, of course, we have to start ENN after we've gotten some business out of the way by saying good evening to Don. It's Don again. Of course, just don't run them over. And Don. RJ, I know you're listening. That might have to be part of your Did It Happen in Florida Open at some point.
Yeah, right. What are galligators?
I think... it sounds like alligators, and Jacob did a good job there. I just think that you were just had so many things you wanted to say that you were starting to say a word, and then you said alligators.
Yeah. What are you going to?
Sometimes cry.
Oh, and can we also? I don't want to step on you there, but can we say hi to Peter McNeely?
Oh yeah.
This is for my grandfathers, my grandmothers, my father, my mother, Curly, my 3 brothers.
It's like
last but not least, Snubby.
Jacob played this, and I was like, "This is a caricature."
Is that the best? Is that the best cut that he could find?
There's more. There's even more.
But that's great. That nailed what you were saying.
Was the last name Snubby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe his nickname or his,
Hold on, I need to
his occupation. I don't know.
Hold on.
This is for my grandfathers, my grandmothers, my father, my mother, Curly, my 3 brothers. Last but not least, Snubby.
Shout out to Snubby.
By the way, shout out to Snubby wherever you are. And imagine going something that deep. You go that far, and you talk about your grandparents, your mother, your father, grandparents, and then literally step into a ring and make a complete ass out of yourself. He was literally, if you see the knockout, Don, if I don't remember, he was like running all over the ring, falling down.
Yeah,
like it was a disaster.
And it was nice that we played that off vinyl.
Yeah.
Oh, you could hear the crackling. You knew it was an old video.
That's how you know that old vinyl right there.
You knew it was old video, which is amazing. You mentioned the Roy Rogers. You mentioned the Beach Bash. That's coming up, guys.
That's it.
We're like a month away.
It's right there. Less than a month. Today's what, the 29th?
You want me to talk about it?
No, the ESPN New York Beach Bash is back.
You got it.
Yeah, the Friday, June 28th
Keep
at Bar
going.
A, Bar Anticipation to you, me, and the Walls in Lake Como, New Jersey. Head down to the Jersey Shore, join Bart and Hahn and the K-Show live starting at noon with an appearance, of course, by DiPietro and Rothenberg. Plenty of giveaways for fans in attendance. Music from the Mark Ribler Band, all brought to you by Open Road Auto Group, Flight by Yingling, which Peter will be partaking in, New Jersey Lottery, Calandra's Bakery, and General Plumbing Supply. You must be, and this is important, everybody, you must be 21 of age to enter. Because we do appeal to the infant audience. We see a lot of like kids in cribs watching the show.
Oh yeah,
they can't be involved.
No, infants can't come.
No flight by Yingling for the children. No flight by Yingling. Guys, another wide receiver in the NFL got paid today.
Okay.
Jalen Waddle.
Oh, yeah.
Is now one of the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL, of $84.75 million extension over 3 years that includes $76 million guaranteed, a source tells Adam Schefter. He's paid more than Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, listen.
He's very good.
More than Tyreek Hill. Wow. Doesn't it feel like for your money you have, it's hard to get more valuable than Tyreek Hill? But it's when the contracts come up. And Waddle is a beast, obviously, as you guys know. But
timing.
God, I'll tell you what. Last year, the Commanders game against the Chiefs was as not fun a game as I've watched in some time. I think it was like literally the third play. Not the Chiefs, the Dolphins. Like the third play, it was Tagovailoa hitting Tyreek Hill for like 80 yards, running back. You know, one of those days where you go, oh, it's going to be one of those days. We're the team in the highlight video of Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa's master highlights. Well, that's all we are. We're just the guys getting run past. All right, cool, great.
I got to check this now because I was taking a look at one of the contract, and it looks like he is he is a top 5 highest paid receiver. I have to take a look. Maybe Tyreek Hill is paid slightly more than Jalen Waddle on a year-by-year basis, but they're both right there. I mean, and the money that has gone to wide receivers. Nico Collins 2 days ago got 3 years for $73 million from the Texans.
Okay,
that's pretty good. A.J. Brown on the 25th of April got the 3-year, $96 million deal from the Eagles. So Jalen Waddle getting paid down in Florida.
Well, you know, Darren Waller's going to make some money after his big musical hit. Once this thing blows up.
Take your time ahead. Just take a time out and feel. The nights we opened up and we knew how much that you and I were real.
Now listen, I don't know if Darren Waller will ever be effective as a Giants tight end.
Right.
But he's like the songbird of a generation.
You'd have to think. I mean, it was something.
Beautiful.
You see that today with everything going on, and you go, I got to stop and think. I got to listen to this Darren Waller.
I'm sure people did. I'm sure it's got a lot of downloads.
Good for him. I hope he gets her back. Yeah, if that was the point. I don't even know. I couldn't quite figure out if that was the point, that he wanted her back or not. But
remember how I said Darren Waller definitely, Jalen Waddle definitely paid more than Tyreek Hill? Yeah, no, that's not true. Tyreek Hill makes $30 million a year. Okay. But that means that there's, on an average salary, $58.25 million tied up in 2 players on the Miami Dolphins.
Thank you for clearing this up.
Tyreek Hill and well, listen, I have to. This is the show where we make corrections. We make corrections. We fix things.
Because we make a lot of mistakes. We got a lot of corrections.
It actually kind of brought me back to the Russo thing that you were talking about. I was actually about to say the name.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I was going to say the name. I was going to say. I was going to.
I don't know if we'd be able to.
I was going to say Waddle
and
no,
Roy Rogers. He was going to say Rogers.
Roy Rogers.
Yeah.
And speaking of Rogers, Aaron Rodgers, Kurt Warner on Football Today on John Boy talked about Aaron Rodgers having a ton of pressure on him.
You know, Aaron, is one of the best quarterbacks our league has ever seen. But he doesn't get into the greatest conversation until he gets to another Super Bowl. Having him switch teams, having him come back at 40 years old off of an Achilles, the New York Jets, who have never won, and this could maybe set Aaron, in kind of a different category. I mean, kind of what I was able to do with Arizona. That elevated me back to a different status than it would have been had I just had great success with St. Louis.
So I get what Kurt's saying.
Yeah, he's not wrong, but he's not right either. Think about what you're saying. That in order for him to be in the greatest conversation, the all-time great conversation, he needs another ring. That's what he said, right?
But he said like he did with Arizona, and he never won. He got there.
I know, but so I'm sorry, and I'm old enough to remember. God love him. I don't like him on the Fox pregame and postgame. Not a fan of him as an announcer, but he's a great football player. I'm sorry. Terry Bradshaw cannot shine Drew Brees' shoes, Aaron Rodgers' shoes, or Dan Marino for that matter, or Fran Tarkington, or Dan Fouts. He's got 4.
He has 4.
So I'm sorry, no. And listen, God love Eli Manning, and I do as much as anybody. What, Eli Manning's in that conversation? He won twice, but Aaron Rodgers can't because he only won once. Drew Brees can't because he only won once. Marino never. Stop it. I mean, it's ridiculous. Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen. So whether he wins one with the Jets or not, that's not going to change my opinion of him. And he shouldn't be left out of the conversation of greatest to ever play because he's only has one championship, like, or Dan Marino has none. I mean, I don't you see how unfair that is, Peter? He doesn't block. He doesn't tackle. He doesn't kick.
I do, and I agree with you. But if you want to start, okay, here's the way I look at it. Aaron Rodgers is a more talented, in my opinion, physical specimen than Tom Brady. But Tom Brady, with the amount of championships that he's won, mixed with how skilled he is, that combo makes him the greatest of all time. If Aaron Rodgers wanted his skill set, which I believe is better, to be able to surpass the winning of Tom Brady, to be in the conversation at least, of being, he needed a second ring, plus the immense skill set to jump over the 5 more rings. But you're talking about the very top.
But you're talking about 7. All right, but when you get to a certain number, it just gets ridiculous, right? Like Jordan with 6.
6 for 6 to you and me.
But think of this conversation as if it was Studio 54 in the 70s. And all the great quarterbacks are trying to get in to this exclusive club. And the guys that wouldn't be allowed in.
What was Don's equivalent of Studio 54 in the 70s?
Fatso Fogarty's.
Fatso Fogarty's in the 80s.
That's right.
Sure. 2000.
John always got in.
So to go in the back and hang out with Ron Duque, right? But so now
that must have been
the
fun.
ones that are on the other side of the velvet rope. Or Dan Marino and Fran Tarkenton and Dan Fouts and Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers. How ridiculous would that look? But inside the club would be Jim Plunkett and Eli Manning and Terry Bradshaw. Like, does that make any sense?
I guess this is the best way I can I guess this is actually a decent question. I could be wrong. Does Peyton Manning get looked at differently because he went to Denver and won that Super Bowl? I would have thought of Peyton Manning, having grown up and seeing him as one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen. That doesn't change.
But here's how stupid.
Yes.
Like, really, really dumb this conversation is. I want to punch it up here. I want to be able to have the numbers.
I think you should. It's important.
You just brought up Peyton Manning.
Yes.
Peyton Manning had a career year, his first year in Denver. What did he throw, over 50 touchdown passes? Yes. He was done the year they won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, no, he wasn't
Couldn't throw.
No, wasn't part of it.
So the year he didn't win,
best ever.
I think it was when the Flacco had that unbelievable. Yeah, he had like 50 touchdowns. He just had this amazing season. Didn't win. But that doesn't do it. That year didn't do it.
No.
But the year he basically couldn't move, and his defense wins him a Super Bowl. Now he's invited into the club?
Can I tell you
how stupid is that?
But can I tell you the truth, though? Even though Don's argument would be great, because I agree with everything he's saying, I don't think people actually have Peyton in that conversation.
Really?
No,
he's not compared to Brady in a real way anymore.
Well, no,
because it's
he beat him so many times.
But he's there.
But the second one, even, I think people do remember. You ever see my impression of Peyton Manning the year of the Super Bowl?
No.
Here it is.
I like how, here's the best part about that. You also lost your communication to the offensive coordinator.
I did. I pick up a piece of paper and throw it. That's how bad it was. But guys, all this conversation about Rodgers, and the thing that upsets me is...
Well, the thing we're also assuming is that, and we saw how this Jet team looks without Rodgers, they're going to need a good version of Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl. They're not going to get Peyton Manning in Denver winning a Super Bowl with, just handing it off to Breece Hall and hoping that, he throws a couple slants to Garrett Wilson.
So it was 2 years before the Super Bowl. So 2013, 55 touchdown passes,
that was
10 interceptions, 5,477 yards passing. Now, that didn't do it. But the year he threw for 2,249, 9 touchdown passes and 17 interceptions, but happens to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, that or goes to the Super Bowl, right? Because he had won the year before.
Nobody thinks that Dan Marino is that much of a lesser quarterback because he never won.
Do me a favor and pipe down over there, Fauci.
Oh boy,
Aaron Rodgers here, and I went down a little rabbit hole last night. I was on YouTube, Donnie, and I found some really interesting stuff. You guys ever looked into Korean Airlines Flight 007?
I have not personally, Don, you?
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
It's a cover-up.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Wow.
100%. What about Malaysia Airlines flight MH370? Donnie, ever?
No, that one I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, because your brain is shut. And I guarantee you, Fauci, you never paid attention to the new Coke conspiracy, have you?
No, never have.
All right, Don, you remember New Coke?
Sure.
Do you know that they intentionally changed it with an inferior formula?
That I do agree with you.
With the intent of driving up demand? You knew about that?
Yes. That's kind of obvious. I mean, I'm really almost offended that you even list that.
Donnie, you partake in conspiracies?
I do. I enjoy them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
big conspiracy theorist.
Hey, Fauci. Only conspiracy you know about is that made-up vaccine you were shoving in our arms. You shut your face if you knew it was best for you. But Donnie, it's not nice to talk about that. Donnie, maybe we could get together sometime. Have you ever thought about expanding your mind through ayahuasca or mushrooms?
Occasionally.
Have you looked into the disappearance of Harold Holt?
I'm not familiar with his work.
So you still got some layers to go.
Any opinions on D.B. Cooper?
D.B. Cooper? Oh, yeah, lots of opinions.
He can't get them all out right now.
Shut
Well, so, you know what?
Gordon, shut up, Fauci.
Let's sit down and share.
I'd like that, Don.
It's always good to hear from Aaron on the show.
I'm out.
Somebody that is not, does not think that Aaron Rodgers has the chance to do what Kurt Warner hopes he could do to get into that velvet rope club, as you eloquently pointed out, Don, is Chris Canty on Unsportsmanlike.
I have zero confidence that Rodgers and the Jets are going to be able to figure this thing out at a championship level. There usually is a learning curve when it comes to getting into the postseason and having that kind of success. And for this young core of Jets players, knowing that this franchise has the longest playoff drought in North American team sports, color me skeptical thinking that they're not going to make it to the Super Bowl or nonetheless go on a deep playoff run.
He's so right, because I think we all said that this was probably going to be a 2-year thing.
Yeah.
And then they got robbed of that first year, so it's like starting it over again. The only problem is now he's a year older, so you're talking about trying to do it in the playoffs at 41 and 42 years old. But I agree. You got to learn from losing, and it's as important as the quarterback is, you know, the defense has to learn to come up big, that offensive line in big spots, and, you know, they need the taste of the playoffs and that taste of failure before you can take that next step. So I'm with him. To expect it to happen this year, I think is a tall order, especially in that conference. But in the second year, could they do it? I think so.
Well, they never got that experience this year, right? Because even if they didn't get as far as they wanted to this year with Rodgers, you have the experience of, hey, we went through the playoffs. This is great. Kind of like this Panther team last year, where you're like, oh, we're not expected to win, whatever. But you didn't get that for these young guys. All they know is this real struggle of just trying to find their offense and not being able to get it done. What I'm really surprised when we had Aaron on, I was surprised he didn't mention the fact that everybody on the internet was freaking out about his foot scare yesterday. Did you guys see that?
No.
Towards the end of practice, there was a video where trainer comes over, Rodgers is experiencing some foot discomfort. And he's getting worked on by the trainer.
Typical lies.
It wasn't
Typical
true.
lies.
It wasn't true.
No, it wasn't true. I felt just fine. Matter of fact, I took a run after practice. I did 26 miles after practice.
Wow,
that's a marathon.
Yeah, Donnie, I feel really good. Please don't believe what everything doctors tell you. I did my own research.
It's fake news.
I looked into my leg and I thought I was feeling bad. Then I said, "Do I actually feel bad, or is this fake news?" And I went, "No, I feel fine."
Why would I listen to the news when I could just talk to you?
Exactly, Donnie. You have my direct phone number.
Never know what you're going to get on this show. The Giants spoke today. The new O-line coach, Carmen Brasillo, was talking about Evan Neal.
Offensive line is a developmental position to begin with, so your maturation between year 1 to year 2, JMS year 2 to 3, we should see that development. There's a myriad of things that we're trying to work on as a group, but then as an individual, we look and say, hey, maybe change how we set with our hands or maybe be a little more square. And I was talking to AT yesterday about doing some different things. So individual, there'll be some stuff within the framework of perhaps how we're changing a technique or a scheme related. We're always looking, Dave's had us, analyzing this or trying to do that. But as an individual, you look at some individual techniques and you try to change it. I would also say, going into the question, that my time in Ohio, I had a chance to, get to know Coach Tressel a little bit, Jim Tressel, and one of the things he always said was, don't judge a player when they're young and don't judge a player when they're injured. That's something that I think you take into the forefront in looking at the situation.
I'm out of breath listening to him. Boy. I mean, that was either after an entire vat of coffee, or this guy is going to be something else.
This is going to be now. Don
Peter,
also
that was like 1,000 miles an hour.
He might have been tripping.
Well, Don also has some thoughts on Evan Neal. I don't know if you heard them.
Boo him!
Yeah.
Boo his ass!
Yeah.
Boo his sorry ass!
Yeah.
Don't stop booing him!
I hear you.
So
I remember when Don said that very well. It was one of the great moments of my life.
Was it really? There'll be more to come this year, I feel.
Well, we definitely had a moment. Darius Slayton back with the team. They restructured his contract, got some incentives in there that allowed him. I like him as well, and he's not afraid to speak his mind and be kind of honest, which is very rare.
What's that like? Is there another New York athlete that's that way?
Yeah, there is. We just had him on, and Darius Slayton was asked, "How can Daniel Jones gain the respect around the league that he believes he deserves?" Because he's been a Daniel Jones supporter for a while.
Win. I think we all need to win. If you want to be seen as a good player in this league, if you lose, the general consensus is they must all be bad players if they're losing. So if you win, then 2 years ago we're in the playoffs. There wasn't this negative press. Everybody was like, actually, it was he needs help, right? It wasn't. I was like, we need to get better receivers, better weapons for him to be better. So the narrative comes and goes depending on how your team does. So kind of like I said, it's on me and him and all the rest of the guys we have to get this team all going in the right direction.
Money sound today.
Just win, baby.
All the sounds have been terrific.
Yeah, there's a lot of things were said today.
Not a big sound guy.
And that's going to do it for ENN, brought to you by Security Dodge. Shop 24/7 at securitydodge.com during their Memorial Day sales event. If you didn't hear it, Hour 2, Donnie, big message for Ranger fans if you're going. 7 o'clock pregame.
That's right. Ranger fans, so long, yes, Ranger fans.